Hello. We all agree we live in a divided world, and it almost seems like the degree of mutual distrust, resentment, or contempt is growing almost exponentially all over the world. And though I believe that every era in human history experienced its own deep divisions and tensions, it feels to many of us as though contemporary differences become more and more apparent, more and more painful, often more violent. I believe that deep-seated emotions are rising up to the surface, needed to be shown and needed to be expressed, as the world seems to become again more insecure, unstable, chaotic, and fearful. There often seem to be unreconcilable worldviews, interests, and standpoints. And we too have at least a vague notion about how our countries should be run, about who should be in charge, about what kind of social and economical politics we would like to materialize. Often our stance is very clear and our opinions are sharp. And so we experience feelings of bitterness, disappointment, or even hate towards many leaders, their opponents, or other public figures. How could they say that? How come they are so stupid? They are about to ruin my life. That crazy bunch of beep. And of course, we then often spread our anger and fear onto the supporters of those persons, whenever we see them, we hear them, or talk to them. If you live in the US, you might think now, oh, I know damn well who he's talking about. Really? Well, I could mean a certain Mr. T, let's say, just to give a good example. But maybe it's Mrs. C or Mr. O for someone else. I am not suggesting anything. You can fill in the blanks yourself. In the country where I live, Poland, there is also a government now who is feared by many people. And somehow this fear seems to match the anger that the government's supporters are often pouring over those politicians and people who disagree with them. And we could name further countries and issues, of course, from all over the world, where the level of tension and disagreement is high, where people live in fear, fight against each other, or experience injustice or even oppression. And even if the country or the region you live in is appearing to be in a stable condition, with a prospering economy, with relatively secure jobs, with not too many immigrant conflicts, with high social welfare or a low criminality rate, I am pretty sure that you also debate about your leaders and public figures, that you sometimes label them as stupid or wish them to hell, that you would like some laws not to be passed or to change them right away, that something's bothering or threatening you, and you do not like everyone and everything in your country. Now, breathe deeply and think about it for yourself for a minute. From my life experience, it is very important that we become aware of all our inner emotions and face them, as difficult and painful as they may be. The anger at the leaders, the fear they might take away our money or destabilize our country or bring war and damage upon us. The resentment and bitterness caused by the feeling that our voice does not matter or is not being taken into account. The envy that some people seem to be privileged and have it better than we do. The anxiety that we will lose a job or that our identity is at stake, or that we will not be able to provide for our children, or that our borders are insecure, anything that makes anxiety creeping in. I myself have to admit that I often had bad thoughts and experienced sometimes violent fantasies about some politicians and their supporters, feeling myself threatened, feeling my family being threatened, afraid we might get hurt, fearing the future, longing for safety. And beyond the surface, aren't all these emotions not an expression of our desire to be heard, to be safe, to be accepted? and looking at it from the other side, to be acknowledged for what we are, to be able to freely express our longings and desires, to show to the world our dreams and being able to bring them into life. Let's just feel into that for a second. We all have the right to feel it, and it is always justified. Our experiences are unique and deeply personal, and yet their essence is maybe something we all share beneath the surface. And those emotions are a burden we all carry with us to some level because of some painful past experiences, because of our upbringing, because of social norms, because of other people we hang out with and how they influence and inspire us. And we all so much long to be loved like a child, and to be free like a child, and to be taken care of like a child sometimes too, yeah. And now going beyond that, if you feel now that we share similar fears and desires at our core, then maybe so do the leaders you despise and their supporters that you don't like. And so their politics, their standpoints, their laws, their worldviews are then merely just a reflection of their own fears and desires. Try to picture words or actions from those leaders that you'd otherwise reject and fight against. And try to sense beneath it a need for acknowledgement, a need for feeling safe maybe, for being seen, something this person is secretly longing for and hiding from everyone, a need for harmony and mutual understanding, a need for freedom and self-expression. Try to picture some deeply residing feelings beneath this mask that you don't like, beneath this angry or stupid face that you normally see, beneath those ritualized words and speeches and behaviors you watch on TV or on the internet. And see this longing human being, this frightened child, this emotional person. Aren't we then all just really the same after all? Now you may say, yes, but this politician has taken on a responsible role and is showing up as a public figure, and along that comes some duties, and I expect a certain intellectual level and a certain code of behavior. I can hear some of you saying that, and so I'd rather address that right away. On a certain level, you're absolutely right. But you can maybe admit that other people might feel like he or she is acting in a responsible manner and is doing some good for the people of your country. We all filter through our life's experiences and personal beliefs, and we all have a right to hold our own desires. And we all have a right to our fear and anger arising out of those desires. And this public figure might do some harm and act in a way that hurts or discriminates or overlooks many people. Yes, that's true and that's painful. But just consider, please, that he had his own twisted life experiences, his own upbringing, his own wounds, and his own insecurities to deal with. And he had also his own dreams and desires that he longed somehow to express, and that eventually brought him to his leadership role. And his life path might be different than yours, and the impact of his actions are far grander, yes, but he's only following his vocation now. And regardless of what we do in our lives, it is all colored by those deeply rooted fears and desires of ours. And our choices, actions, and words are an expression of all those shared emotions, as I personally believe, all around the world. Now let's go one last step further together. If you judge this public figure to be indifferent to people's pain or needs, or they are appearing to be ruthless and controlling and demeaning, or they are acting not in the most considerate way, when were you indifferent to someone close to you? In what circumstances did you become controlling or didn't want to let go of something? When might have you acted in a ruthless or demeaning manner, just as someone else might have experienced it? When did it last occur to you that the way you acted was not the most considerate one? Now, I'm sure we'll all find something, sooner or later, even if buried deep inside of us. And it only shows us that at a very deep level, we all can somehow relate to each other's actions, even if we seem to be so different from each other. And those politicians don't seem to be a species from this planet either. Yeah. Now, I would never encourage you to force yourself to feel good towards those people that you hated until now. Maybe it will happen one of these days, but you all have the right to feel scared or angry, and to fight for your rights, and to make your point, and to feel disappointed or neglected at times. But just see if sometimes you'd be able to reach beneath the surface of the bitterness and the contempt. If you could feel into his human expression, into their human expression of those leaders, and maybe of the supporters as well, into their aliveness, their curiosity, their fears, into how they so much love to express their desires as children, and how they have learned to suppress them as grown men and women. And feel into how you share some of these basic emotions and experiences with them. And to feel with them for a second. And to convey to them a good thought. Or to encourage them to look past their fears, so they might be able to act in a more thoughtful and compassionate manner in the future. Yeah. Now the world won't change at once. I know we'd like to all see good laws being passed now. We all long to stay safe right now. We all would like to be heard already now. We all would like to feel free now. I can absolutely relate to that. And there are decisions of politicians which harm people and bring about fear and resentment, for sure. And some groups will always feel left out. And we will all experience hardship or disappointment because of those decisions, to a certain degree, more or less, depending on our life circumstances, our challenges, the country we live in, our goals and our dreams. But let's just see if we can all reach out into each other's hearts with a bit more kindness and gentleness. Whenever we feel ready to do that. We obviously won't be able to do so all the time. To see past the masks and the speeches and the behavior and the laws, to open up with curiosity and sense the fears and desires we all share, to make a pause before we burst out in anger, to say a good word, to acknowledge the human being behind the role, behind the persona, their aliveness, their hidden dramas, their longing for connection and understanding. And so that we all co-create a better world on a micro level. Everyone as he or she can, in their lives. Because it will be then this willingness to understand and this one kind thought and this shared longing for harmony that will create a growing, positive, loving energy. And those tiny changes and miracles are going to happen to every one of us, even amidst pain and even amidst frustration. Now, wishing you a happy Christmas and a happy holiday season full of shared joy, shared stories, and shared longings. Thank you.